I covered Patrick Mahomes' ACL surgery earlier this week. Now Micah Parsons has the same injury. Two of the NFL's biggest stars suffered the exact same injury on the exact same day. Patrick Mahomes' surgery done on Monday. Micah Parsons not done yet. Both quarterbacks of their team's success, both facing 9 to 12-month recoveries. This isn't just about one ACL tear. This is about a pattern and a timeline that could define the Packers' entire 2026 season. But here's the question no one's asking. Why is Parsons waiting? And what does the Green Bay Packers injury history tell us about when he'll actually play again? Packers star Micah Parsons heads to Dallas while awaiting ACL surgery, but it's for a good reason. He's about to have another child here pretty quick, Packers coach Matt LaFleur said last night in his press conference. He's about to have another child here pretty quick. Not that that's going to impact the specific timeline of the surgery, but he's down there dealing with that. So Parsons is waiting for personal reasons, but also because the Packers have a history of not rushing their players into surgery. And that history gives us a blueprint for exactly when number 11 will be back on the field. Let's find out. In the last 3 years, 3 Green Bay starters tore their ACLs during the season. Christian Watson, Rashawn Gary, Elgton Jenkins. And their recovery timelines tell us everything we need to know about Parsons' future. Christian Watson tore his ACL in the final week of last season, Week 18, 2024. He was back 294 days later, making his return the fastest of the 3. If Parsons follows the Watson timeline, he'd be ready to play by October 4th, 2026, meaning he'd miss the first 3 games of the season. Rashawn Gary tore his ACL on November 6th, 2022. He was back 308 days later, Week 1 of the 2023 season. It's possible Gary could have played sooner, but the Packers held him until the opener. On the Gary timeline, Parsons would miss the first 4 to 6 games depending on when the Packers play and whether they have an early season bye. Elgton Jenkins tore his ACL on November 21st, 2021. He returned 302 days later in Week 2 of the 2022 season. That timeline would put Parsons back somewhere between Week 2 and Week 5 of 2026, depending on surgery. Now contrast that with Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes tore his ACL and LCL on the same day as Parsons, December 22nd. By Monday, December 23rd, Mahomes was already in surgery in Dallas with Dr. Dan Cooper. Why the difference? First, Mahomes had additional damage, the LCL tear, which required immediate attention. Second, the Chiefs' season ended that day. There's no reason to wait. Third, Mahomes is 29 years old, 3-time Super Bowl champion, and the face of the NFL. The Chiefs are moving heaven and earth to get him back for 2026. Parsons? He's 25, no Super Bowls yet, and the Packers are being more methodical. LaFleur wouldn't confirm if Parsons had other injuries beyond the ACL, saying only, "I just know it was the ACL in my conversations, but as far as the specifics of it, I'm not going to get into it." But Parsons' ACL isn't Green Bay's only problem. On Tuesday, the Packers released their injury report for Saturday's game against the Bears. 16 players listed. 8 didn't practice, including Christian Watson, chest, shoulder, Josh Jacobs, knee wrist, and Zach Tom, back knee. This team is falling apart at the worst possible time. Losing Parsons for the season was devastating, but losing half the roster to injury in a playoff push? That's a crisis. And it raises the question, even if Parsons comes back in October, will the Packers still be a championship contender? Or will this injury-riddled season define their downfall? So here's the realistic timeline for Micah Parsons. Surgery. Likely this week or early January after his child is born. Recovery, 9 to 12 months from surgery date. Return, based on the Watson, Gary, and Jenkins timelines. Expect Parsons back somewhere between Week 2 and Week 6 of the 2026 season. Best case, he's back by Week 3, early October. Worst case, he misses the first 6 games, potentially more if there are setbacks. But here's what we know for sure. The Packers will not rush him. They've learned from Watson, Gary, and Jenkins that patience pays off. And unlike Mahomes, who faces immense pressure to return for a Chiefs team chasing another ring, Parsons has time. The 2026 season opens September 10th, giving him roughly 260 days from today if surgery happens this week. It's tight, but it's doable.